All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. As you know, we're relatively new, but we're growing every week. So we have a lot of exciting things planned and coming up in 2018. So certainly stay tuned. There is a sim move, and of course, with it, some upgrades and changes. My hat's off to all the Providence owners and staff for undertaking such a feat, and also for providing and agreeing to host the show. And I don't know if I've said it in case I haven't said it, and I know Gary's not here, but a big special thank you to Gary and Jen, our sim owners. Is he? Okay, well, I'm looking at my notes, so I can't see him. A special thank you
I'm
to
here.
Well, thank you, Gary. So a special thank you to Gary and Jen, our sim owners, and especially to Leona and Kitty for being such active supporters of this forum and welcoming me into the family. You know, SL works in mysterious ways. We've always said that, and sometimes the pixels just happen to align. So I thank you again, and you know, I'm wishing us all a lot of success this year. New year. I don't do resolutions because I think we should all be working on ourselves all year long, not just one day out of the year. So this evening, we have a very special guest, and we have the awesome Jammin' DJ Jim, or Jim. And he has agreed to tell us all about his very unique catfish story. And before we continue on, thank you, Jim, for staying up so late for you. I know, the time zone thing is difficult. So I really appreciate you agreeing to do this interview and staying up late.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. So, and I know probably you're all aware of what catfish is, but just to give a quick recap before we get into the actual Jim story. Catfishing is something. A catfish is someone who creates a false online identity. So catfishing is common in social networking and online dating sites. And sometimes a catfish sole purpose is to engage in a fantasy. So keeping that in mind, sometimes the catfish's intent is to defraud a victim, seek revenge, or commit identity theft. So with the introduction of home computing, internet, and social platforms, SL included, obviously, there's this whole new dimension, and especially for us here in SL, that it just brings a whole other level of anonymity and as we refer to as drama and moving parts. So not that this phenomenon didn't happen before, but technology, as elaborate as it is, has certainly brought in a whole new level. And again, especially here in SL. So, and then we also hear of instances where people might want revenge on a former partner. Some people might be lonely or bored, and some people just want to cause trouble. I mean, there's no real explanation, but there are some people that they get off on that sort of thing. Incomprehensible to myself, but it does happen. One of the biggest reasons over and over that we see that people catfish seems to be because they don't feel confident in who they really are. So they pretend to be someone else. Now, here in SL, we quote unquote pretend to be somebody else, right? So I don't really have blonde hair, a bunch of tattoos and piercings in real life, but it's an expression of who I am. And maybe, if I could snap my fingers and click a mouse, maybe that is really what I would look like in real life. I don't know. But so it's not so much deceptive. It's just expression. And there are people that actually align their avatar to look like them. So we have that group as well. So let's get into it, Jim. Tell me, how did it start?
It started when I first started DJing at Second Life. I met actually a woman at a club. She was very much interested in talking to me, getting to know me. But the thing was, she had trust issues, obviously, because if I was not talking to her while I was DJing in IM, she was accusing me of wanting to be with somebody else or trying to set up a date with somebody else.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Coming from she has trust issues about you, but then we get further into the story. But okay, continue. So how long were you together in SL?
We were together probably about a month and a half.
Okay, so that was like the
And
dating period.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That was just the dating period. Did you partner? Did you get married in SL? Any of that?
No, actually, I have never been partnered to anybody in Second Life. To me, a partnership is when you make a commitment to one person and you do end up getting married. That is
Okay.
a partnership. Every time somebody has a boyfriend, oh, you're my boyfriend, let's partner. Oh, you're my girlfriend, let's partner. Do you know how much money you could spend in a couple of months partnering and partnering to somebody else? It can get expensive.
No, Leona might be able to answer that one with the weddings, but you know, Leona,
But
Leona making that. But so you would say that you were dating for about a month.
yes,
Yes.
month
Okay.
and a half,
Month and a
maybe
half.
2 months. Month and a half, 2 months, yeah.
And the last show we talked a little bit of the relativity of SL time versus real time. So if we're gauging it by 2 months, right, Leona? What's the equivalent of real life? What do we say?
That would be about 8 months.
8 months. Okay. All right. So 8 months real life. I mean, that's pretty fair. That's pretty fair.
Mm-hmm.
I see couples getting together and taking next steps at that point. So what kinds of things did you share? Okay. So when you're dating for those 2 months, just photos? Did you Skype? Were there any
No,
red flags?
well, I kind of questioned some things about her, being that she never Skyped, she never talked in Second Life. It was always in IM or typing in local.
Mm-hmm.
So it led me to believe, and yes, I did get attached pretty quickly. And it was the first time that I actually shed tears in Second Life over somebody that I didn't even know that well.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the emotions are real. When you realize, I kind of joke about it with some of my close friends. Even some of my close friends don't even know my real name.
Yep.
And you're right, but the emotions are very much real when you develop these emotions, even though that's not the unicorn twinkle butt is not their real name. The emotions are real, and I get it. I mean, been there, done that. So I certainly understand. But even with those red flags about no Skyping, no talking, didn't that kind of like really send you a red flag as
Yes,
to
it did. Several
okay,
times.
okay, and you had that feeling.
I ended up with feelings. I mean, I did care about it. We spent a lot of time together. Actually, I was pretty new. I was actually 16 days when I first started DJing. It was probably within my first 2 weeks of DJing at a couple of clubs, and I met her. And of course, I was homeless. I didn't have any place to go. A vampire family took me in, took us both in, gave us a place to stay, and we fought a lot after that happened. And needless to say, I think that was the cause of us breaking up.
Okay. So as she's telling you, because as you're having this communication with a potential partner or partner, you start exchanging things about your real life,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's inevitable. You
Right.
see these profiles that say, "Oh, I don't mix real life and second." Well, you know what? That's virtually impossible unless you're in here just to play a character. And even then, think about it, when you're playing a character, there are certain things that your avatar will say and do that reflect back to your real life. So we can't really run away. So were there specific things that she told you that didn't ring true? I don't know, like, for example, Kronos in the audience is a good friend of mine, and we have a good relationship. But I finally fessed up to Kronos, who I actually work with just a couple of days. And so he could actually go online and verify that information. Were there things that maybe were said that didn't ring true?
Looking back now, it's been a while. I don't remember, but I mean, there were some things that were kind of sketchy about her. But I mean, I was new to Second Life, and I really didn't know much about it. And when I first came in here, I wasn't planning on getting involved in any relationship or meeting anybody online or anything like that. I strictly came in here to DJ.
Well, give me an example of
But as you know, go ahead.
So tell me an example of what didn't ring true for you. Was there something specifically she said that you go, eh?
She told me she wasn't happy in her real life, so that led me to believe that she was probably with somebody.
Okay. So you knew that there was a potential real life partner,
Right.
boyfriend, maybe. Okay.
Right.
I have a question.
Yes, Gary.
At any time did you just my question is, at any time did you think that her gender could have been not her gender?
I thought about that too. When I first started, it really wasn't a thing to me because I wasn't aware of people making other accounts. So she said she was a female. I actually believed her. As time went on, somebody had mentioned to me, because I was new in SL, and of course noobs that have never, I'm not talking about alts that are noobs, I'm talking about somebody that has actually never been in Second Life, never has done anything with anybody in Second Life, and has only been in here for 30 days. When somebody who's been in a Second Life for a year or 2 years or 3 years and says to you, with you, and you say no, do you really think it's possibly a woman, or do you think it could be a man? That's when I started realizing that, there are people that do tend to make alt accounts, and the sex gender you just don't know unless, it was, basically it was not of knowledge to me at first until somebody had mentioned it to me.
Right. We all come in with a little bit of naivete. And I know it was true for me as well. And I'm sure we all can share a similar experience. The first couple of weeks, we just can't wrap our head around the possibilities. And even now, as we get more experience, there's so many different possibilities. You have alts, you have alts of another gender, of a different species. And as we were talking a little bit before the show started. What were you saying, that you know somebody with how many alts and they're partnered in how many of those? Would you say like 18 alts, Jim? 18 alts
Yeah,
and partnered.
your voice cut out. Yeah, I was actually with a girl. I met her actually at a club that I was DJing at. She was one of the hostesses. And we got together. We were hanging out. We were intimate. We were actually in a relationship. And there were times where she just wasn't on an awful lot but she says she didn't work and she lived at a home with her ex soon to be ex-husband or whatever, and that they're getting a divorce, this, that, and the other thing. And I've actually heard arguments between the two, so I kind of believed her until her Second Life mother ratted her out one day and told me that she had several alts. And when I confronted her about it, she swore up and down it wasn't true. She said, well, who told you? And then when I told her who told me, she finally came out and admitted. And she gave me several other accounts that she had. And under 15 alts, she was partnered to 12 different men on 12 of those accounts.
Ew, that's exhausting.
Yeah. I mean, where do you find enough time in a day to be on 12 accounts?
Right? I bet.
That's it. I've seen, I knew one person who would run several windows on his computer. He had different alts, and he would spend time with, a series of ladies, and he would just, enlarge one window, spend time with one girl, and then shrink it down and go talk to the next girl, and he would just round robin himself, and then he would put on like a collar, and so like every time she wanted to go shopping, then she just automatically just teleported his avatar, and he would just automatically follow her around the store. So it looked like he was spending time with her, but then when she tried to talk to him, it would be very, very long time before she get a response. And and so after a while, she realized that he had several alts, and he had partners on each of them.
Oh, that's a whole other show. We're going to have to do another show. But
No, that's a damn show.
Well, I'll tell you right now, we could actually start a Jerry Springer show on
No
Second
kid-
Life and have a couple of relationship past horror stories.
Oof. So getting back to our catfishing question. So what happens next? I know what happens next. Dee knows what happens. What happens next, Jim?
Well, after that relationship, I actually kind of backed off. I got tired of getting hurt. And those of you, I don't know, I haven't checked anybody's profile out, but folks, anybody that has in your profile, real life is real life, Second Life is Second Life, it's a bunch of horse manure in a plain of putting it. There are real life feelings that you get when you're with somebody on a constant basis every day. Maybe it might be for just a few hours during the week because the other person works. But your avatar does not feel anything. So when you cheat on somebody, your avatar is not going to cry. Your avatar stays in Second Life when you log out. It hurts to be lied to be cheated on, to be deceived. When you're with somebody, it's a real life feeling. So how you can try and separate the second, it's still a mystery to me because I've never been able to do that.
Are you ready, Jim, to be blown
Sure.
away? You see sunshine behind me?
Oh my God.
Sunshine behind you.
Yeah.
Let me check.
Jen.
Oh, okay, yes.
She's a sim owner.
Okay.
I am too. She's sitting about 15 inches from me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you did look at our profiles, you're going to notice that neither one of us are in either one's profile as partners. I have an SL wife in SL. She has an SL husband in SL. Do we keep it separated? Yes, to a certain extent. But because we're honest with each other, we don't lie to each other about our relationships. And basically, she knows my SL wife. My SL wife knows of her. And her SL husband knows of me and probably one of my best friends.
Okay,
So
well, to me,
that'll blow you
it
away.
oh, it
Yeah.
does, it does. And
Gary-
you know what, Gary, you're not the only one that I have actually come across or come in contact with that is actually married or together in real life, but have separate second lives. And I don't know how people can do that. I mean, to me,
It's
cheating
honesty.
is cheating.
It's
And
honesty.
it's understand. I understand it's honesty. But if I'm with somebody, for instance, I'm with, say, D in the audience. Her and I are together in real life. If she ever came in to the computer room and seen me having sex with another woman, I personally would feel like a piece of garbage because I'm cheating on my real life spouse. To me,
But are
cheating
you?
is cheating no matter which way you put it.
Exactly. But are you? Here's the thing. And you can take this in two different directions. One,
Mm-hmm.
if you trust the person that you're married to in real life and you trust them and you trust their decisions and they trust yours, as long as, and I'm going to be pretty graphic here, as long as she don't walk in the room and catch me jerking off to some pixel and go, oh my God, you're cheating on me because you're jerking off to a pixel. If she walked in and me and my SL wife were having relationships in our home and she could see it on my computer and that, am I going to say to her, oh, well, we're doing, doing our stuff, and we're being an SL husband and wife.
Mm-hmm.
Do we keep it real? Yeah, we keep it real. Um, but it's the same thing with her husband in SL. They have been together how many years, Jen?
Almost 12 years.
12 years in SL.
Wow.
Me and my SL wife have been not married in SL, but we have been really close for probably 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
The lady on the front row up here, Leona, both me and my wife know her real life, and we've known her for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the cool thing about what you're going through with the catfish is you're going to run into that kind of stuff in SL as well as real life. You're going to run into it, but it's trust. Basically, that's the bottom line is trust. Sorry, Ursula, I kind of jumped in there and preached a little.
No, I hear you, but Gary, you're a whole show unto yourself, honey.
Thank you.
Seriously, I'm gonna have to do a 2-hour Gary special or something. I don't know. But I'm kind of gonna divert the conversation here a little bit because we haven't gotten to the interesting part. So, Jim,
Right.
I'm gonna drop the show. At what point did you say, okay, I'm moving, I'm uprooting my life to be with this person?
It was back in 2013, 2014. I met a girl at a country club. We were together in Second Life for 6 months. Now, how long would that be in real life time?
Ugh. Leona's my math.
Well, she had actually sent me pictures of what I thought was her.
Okay.
She told me she loved me. She told me she had an abusive boyfriend. He was constantly drinking. He was very verbal. He was smoking pot all the time. And she said, as soon as I got out there, because we had talked about me moving out there, or actually us being together in real life. And I decided that, you know what, this girl really seems to be sincere. And she seems to be honest. She's faithful to me. She comes online and she's not doing anything. I'm really thinking that this is actually going to be the one. Well, 3 days prior to me moving, now I'm all packed up. I've got the truck booked. I've got money all set up. I've got a hotel and food ready. I'm kind of thinking that I'm ready to move.
Right.
Well, 3 days.
Actually, you're ready to move. And for the audience, you, let me catch you up, audience. He meets somebody and he physically goes and packs, and now he's going to move. Real life, uprooting an entire life to be with this person he's met in SL. Okay. Did she know you were coming?
Yes.
Okay, so she made
And
plans.
Yep, she made plans that I was going to come and stay with her. And she said she was going to give up her house. She was going to let her boyfriend take it. We were going to go get our own place, and we were going to live happily ever after. 3 days before I moved, she got sick. She had double pneumonia, and they ended up putting her in the hospital. And I'm like, let me come there and be by your bedside. She says, no, I don't want you. I don't want you seeing me. I don't want you. I'm sorry. That was actually a week and a half. She finally got out of the hospital and then I moved a few days later. But she had told me that those pictures that she sent of me were actually not of her. They were actually of us.
Okay.
So I had already made plans to move. I had the truck booked. I had already given my landlord my month's notice that I was moving out. It was too late for me to back out because I had already had the apartment rented when I moved. So I ended up having to go. So when I got out there, she was not who she said she was.
Who was she?
Well, meaning who said she was. She was not the person in the pictures that she portrayed to be.
Okay.
She had told me that she had some sort of, well, actually, I don't want to get into that because it won't be too hard for somebody to hear that on YouTube and know it's about them, so I don't want to say that. But actually, it wasn't even her boyfriend. It was her husband.
So she's married.
She was married in real life. She told me she had a boyfriend, not a husband.
So now you're there.
Go ahead.
Now you're there. And you've now realized that A, that's not the person that was sending you pictures. And that this woman is married. What happens next?
Well, I was going to stay with them until I could find a place. And I was there 8 months. And it just got to be totally out of control. We were fighting every day. We were at each other's throats. She was throwing things up in my face. And it was either kill or be killed. And I didn't want to do either, so I had to get out. So I just packed up my stuff and moved.
Okay, so back up. You actually moved in with her and her husband.
Her
Let
husband
me go.
and rented a room from them
And did the
for 8
husband
months.
know?
Yep. Well, he didn't know about the situation between her and I. He just knew that a friend of hers coming to stay with them until I got a place.
Gotcha.
And then when he found out that I was her SL boyfriend, he was okay with it.
Really?
He trusted.
We're having a little bit of audio here. Let's try that again, Jim.
He trusted her,
Huh?
and he believed that she was loyal and faithful to her. So he didn't have any problems with it. I didn't sleep in the same room. They had a room across the hall that was vacant, and there was nothing in it. I just moved my stuff in there, my dresser, my bed, my computer, and I stayed there for 8 months.
Key question, did you have sex with her? Real life?
One time.
Once.
And I shouldn't have, and I felt like a piece of garbage. And I'm trying to keep it clean, but yeah, I felt like a piece of garbage when I did, knowing that she was married. I had seen that they were having problems. Obviously, I don't want to put a label on somebody, but the day I was leaving, I realized that her husband was actually partnered to somebody in Second Life, and it was another male.
Okay, is everybody breathing? Because I think I just lost my breath.
Yeah.
Kronos, that's another show. Oh my god.
Yeah, that is another show.
I'm floored. I don't know about the audio, but I
You should
am
have been me. You should have been sure
floored.
I was there when I found that out.
Maybe I asked the sex question a little too early. I mean,
No, you know what? Your mind was in the gutter, and we went there, and I'm glad you did, because I'm still a little flabbergasted.
I am too.
Let me take a poll here, you know, and everybody can type in local. Has anybody either done it or, and not counting Gary? Gary's the odd man out here. Who has done it or considered physically moving their real life to be with someone they met in SL?
Type yes on your computer. Just type yes. Yes, just type yes.
I mean, it has happened. I've met people who have actually met in Second Life, fell in love in Second Life, wanted to meet in real life, did meet in real life, and they're together now in real life. The odds of that are happening are probably 1 out of every 1,000.
Wow. Cherry. No, people moved out to me and got kicked out. So somebody moved to you and then you kicked them to the curb. It didn't work out. Yeah. Okay. And D, way to go, Cherry. And then D has a similar story, but not quite as shocking as Jim. So yes, I can be accused of being sensational this weekend because I am fascinating. And here's where it ties in on my personal, and we haven't really talked about it, and this will segue into the last couple of minutes of the show. You know, I met somebody, and unlike you, Jim, I was on Skype with this person 24/7. I knew this person's real, verifiable. All this information is verifiable. First name, middle name, last name, date of birth, place, home phone number, home address.
Ursula, don't give out your secrets.
Oh, I will. I'm going to get a poster and put it all out there. their employer, their employee number. Okay, so I could pick up the phone and verify with their employer where they work. All of this information, a torrid love affair that lasted, what was it, 2 months, 3 months? Something like that. D, help me out with the math. I stink at that. And we had gotten to the point that, I am a professional in real life. I have a job dealing with CEOs of Fortune 500s. I call their bullshit. I'm tough as nails. I actually got to the point emotionally, I was ready to pack my stuff and move to Pittsburgh from Southern California. This is home. Granted, I have no actual family here, but this is home. Gee, I know, right? I was going to give up glorious Southern California for Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I was so close, Jim. And then fortunately or unfortunately, he ghosted me. So in a way, I guess we can thank him for doing that. But so it's not, and I've spoken to a few other people, not completely unheard of, and we also have instances of couples in Second Life
Right.
that meet, and then they actually do. I know a few people that met in World and actually, they're the happy story. They ended up in real life and they actually got married. I know Leona has a couple of instances of people that she's married, that have gone to real life and they've made that jump. But we're talking about still in that courting phase, when we're dating somebody. I mean, it seems at the surface, it seems incomprehensible that somebody would pack up their life like you did, Jim. You pack up your life and you move to be with this person that you've met in SL, and the whole thing turns out to be a lie. And I think we are very susceptible to things like that. So going back to your story, what did she say? I'm really curious. What did she say? What was the reaction when obviously you confronted her about it? Did she have an explanation?
No, she didn't. I think the thing is that she wasn't getting the love and the affection in real life.
Mm-hmm. And I get it, because there are a lot of marriages in that state. But let me ask you, your opinion, do you think that is justification to go out and mess with somebody's real life? Now, I'm not talking about Second Life, okay? We're just going to put that aside for a second. To have somebody move, physically move, change jobs, change careers, do whatever, and uproot their life based on a lie. I would expect more of a explanation from her. The fact that she wasn't happy with her marriage is not an acceptable answer.
Exactly.
By any
and
stretch.
I don't care who you are, man, woman, furry in Second Life. When you start discussing getting together outside of SL, and the thing that gets me is, at what point when we started talking about getting together and going to meet in Second Life and possibly live together, does it not ring a bell in her head that I've lied to him pretty much throughout the whole relationship in Second Life?
Mm-hmm.
I got to start telling him the truth.
Right.
Anything that you want to be in Second Life. I could be a police officer. I could turn around and be a doctor. I could be a horse trainer. I could be anything I want. But when you cross that line, and when you get into a relationship and you talk about being together in real life, don't lie to somebody. Don't lie to anybody, period. It's just wrong. I don't lie, and I tell everybody up front who I am.
Mm-hmm.
If you like me, great. If you don't, so be it.
Right.
You know, that's the thing that people seem to forget is there's real human beings behind, and it all revolves around being a human being behind these avatars. And if you lie, you've got to lie to cover up that lie. You got to lie to cover up those two lies, and eventually you are going to get caught. And then how
So,
can you trust someone if they lie?
right. And well, I mean, that certainly tears down your psyche going forward and how you relate to people going forward. You know, I'm sure now if you are or consider taking on a relationship in SL, I'm imagining that the poor girl, the next girl now has to fill out a questionnaire with a background check. No, I'm just kidding. But let me ask you, so since this has happened, I'm really curious. Have you had contact with her at all?
No, I do not talk to her. She is on my friends list, but I have the eye taken off of her, so she can't tell me when she can't tell when I'm online. She is a drama queen. And
Okay,
she
pause.
will say things. Oh,
No, well, pause. Let me. Now, this is going to be a very strong question. Why do you still have her as a contact?
she. All right. Her and her husband got me a scooter
Okay.
when I lived with them to get around because I didn't have a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And I was making payments up until last January. So I kept her on just so that I could notify her when the payment was sent and when
Mm-hmm.
she could possibly expect it.
Mm-hmm.
Needless to say, after that had happened, I haven't really taken her off because she started this big whole shindig of causing problems and lying, and she was showing up to my set and getting in my IM, and I actually have her blocked, but she is still on my friends list with the eye off. So eventually I will take her off my friends list, but for now, just to avoid drama, I prefer to just leave.
Wow. Okay. So before I field audience questions, or we kind of changed gears a little bit, what is the one takeaway message from your experience, Jim, that you can share with our audience, specifically related to this experience?
If and I'm not going to say that it won't ever happen, but if it does, and you do meet that person that just literally floors you, takes you off your feet, and make sure that you guys know what you're getting yourself into. Find out if this person is who he says he is
Mm-hmm.
or she is. Don't take their word on it unless you've actually seen, and people can download pictures off the internet with no issue and send it. Say, oh yeah, that's me. If you actually get to see them either on Skype via webcam or you see them on Facebook live chat or something, don't believe everything they tell you because 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be a lie.
Okay. I know I saw a question. Kronos, you typed, what happened the day you left? So so unless you jump into voice, I'm going to assume you're asking Jim what happened, what prompted the move, what what happened the day that you left that home and that situation?
It's weird because I'm not going to say that it was all peaches and cream because it wasn't. She had turned around and told me that I had until November to move. When November came, she turned around and asked me if I had some place to go. At that time, I hadn't gotten a place, so I had no idea where I was going, if I was going back to my home state or if I was going back somewhere else. I had no clue. I said, I told her I didn't know. I may not have a place to go, but that's all right. You want me out? It's okay. I have no problem with it. And
I
then
got a question.
the day that I was getting ready to leave, she said if I didn't have a place, I could stay there until the end of December or the beginning of January, and I couldn't deal with it another week there. I had to go. Finally, I did end up with a place. While I was actually the day before I moved, I got a phone call from a friend of mine who I met on Second Life. No relationship, nothing sexual on Second Life. She was my very first hostess when I started DJing in Second Life. And we were friends in SL for probably good 3-4 years before she actually offered me to come out to the state that I'm in now. And I was going to stay at her house with her husband until I could save up some money and get my own place. And before I actually got here, I got a phone call telling me that they had a place. They paid for my first month and my security deposit and told me I was going to be responsible for the next month because I had actually taken all my money and moved from that situation that I was in to move here. So they actually did that for me, and it's very nice. There are still good people in this world, believe it or not. And there are good people in Second Life. It's just a matter of weeding them out.
Gary had a question.
How far did you travel, man? From when you first went there to where you're at now? Did
It was
a lot of
approximately
states?
800 miles.
So your original move was 800 miles to your
Approximately, yes.
yeah.
I moved from Massachusetts down to almost Florida. Not exactly in Florida, but close enough to it.
Mhm.
So I'm going to say
Then,
the Carolinas,
then where
and I'll just leave
where
it at
did
that.
you move from there?
I moved
When
from
you
there
went
to Kentucky.
to Kentucky. Well, not too bad. I was just curious. I mean, because I've heard of people that have moved a long distance meeting an SL, and like she said, there are success stories and then there are horror stories, but I know one that is he moved from England to the United States, married the girl he was dating in SL, and boom, it was kind of you know a success story. But my other question is, and this one's really kind of more personal. When you met this person and you said she was nothing like her pictures, was she really beautiful in the pictures, or and then you got there and she was just the exact opposite? She didn't really look that good, or what?
The pictures that she sent to me was of a family member. It was of her 29-year-old niece, and yes, she was beautiful in that picture that she sent me, which, like I said, I thought was her. Come to find out, when I got there, as I said, she looked nothing like the picture. It was not even her. And, without getting into details, because this is going out in YouTube, and there's a possibility that she may hear it. But yeah, it was good for the first month, and then it would not get along at all.
Well, and you stayed there 8 months?
Yep.
Okay.
I know. I shrug my head, shake my head, wondering why I stayed that long. But I was paying for a rent-to-own scooter. I didn't really have a lot of places to go to actually look, and money is a factor because a lot of places wanted first month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit, and you're talking even at a $500 a month apartment, you're talking $1,500 before you can even move in, and I didn't have that kind of money.
Sky is asking, did she offer? So when you first met in World, I'm gonna kind of assume the question here. Sky is asking, did she offer or did you ask her for the picture first?
Actually, I didn't even ask her for a picture for the first probably 3 months. And then when we started talking about real life, she had asked me for a picture that I had, if I had a picture of me, and I sent her one, and then she sent one in return. So and then she sent me several pictures after that, because the first one I was kind of skeptical. I'm like, is this really you? Because you're gorgeous. And she had actually sent me several others, and they were all of the same person. So I actually kind of thought that it was her.
Right. Kronos, don't get any crazy ideas. That really was my picture I sent you. Yeah, he's laughing now. It's like, yeah. But, oh, goodness gracious. I'm just speechless still. I know there was another question.
Yeah, Kronos actually asked, what did you do for work before you left to see her and after you got there? Actually, I was on disability. I was working as a tow truck driver back in my home state. I did that for 13 years. Plus, I also DJ'd on the side. I did private parties, weddings, birthday parties, you name it. I did it. Clubs. So when I moved to that state, I was technically on disability. I didn't really work when I got out there because jobs back then.
Having audio.
And I hadn't had anything established as far as a home or anything, and I didn't know if I was actually going to stay in that state or if I was actually going to move somewhere else. So I didn't get a job actually when I was there.
And I can bet you're not the first or the last one with a similar story in SL.
Well, I would hope I would be the only one, because it takes a real cruel person to be sending pictures of somebody that they're playing off as them, and it's not really them. I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy.
Well, no, I know. It's like I said, I think it's, unfortunately, I don't think you're the first, and I know you're not going to be the last.
Right.
And the best that we can do is take those precautions. I don't know if that show is still on TV, Catfish. You know, with the advent of, thank you, Leona. Yes, it's still on. I don't watch TV. I don't know. But with the advent of new technology, there are some ways of safeguarding yourself And the guy who produces the show and the host of that show, he actually, he feels he's kind of angry that having all those tools available to our disposal, these kinds of things are still happening, whether it's here or in real life, because we're focusing on this in Second Life, but the reality is this is happening on, oh, somebody help me out. Okay, Cupid, Tinder, things like that. Just to show you, I don't really know all those platforms, but I know that they do exist. Don't swipe right or left. But any instance where, it's all electronic and there's a chance to hide behind a keyboard, it's going to happen. There are certain safe guides. I know if you Google it, there's certain good tips. If you follow my Facebook page, I'll post some up. You can try to minimize some of this. It's never going to be foolproof. And there's always going to be tricks, and there's always going to be, ways of people that are intent on doing this and hurting other people to get their jollies, or to live their fantasy. They will find a way. I mean, the technology's there.
They wrote songs about it.
Your mic cut out.
Oh, they wrote songs about it. Brad Paisley wrote one called Online.
Really? Huh.
Have you never heard that song?
Gary, I'm a hermit.
Okay, well, Hermit, I'll play that song for you next time I DJ. And if you listen to the words to that song, it is your whole show. And wrapped up in a little 3-minute segment of a song. But it makes entirely a lot of sense with because we all catfish. Actually, to be honest, here in SL, we all catfish.
Of course, and I started.
I'm not 7 foot tall. I'm not built like a brick shit house.
I'm not a busty blonde.
Well,
So,
yeah, we don't know that, but you could send us pictures of your cousin.
right?
Here's a tip for those of you that are superficial as far as looks. If you're with somebody and you truly, and I'm not Dr. Phil, I'm not Dr. Ruth, but I mean, I've had enough relationships in Second Life that I can honestly say yourself. If you can't be somebody, if you can't be yourself and try to be something that you're not, it's going to fail. Be honest with yourself about or anything else. If people can't accept you for you, then obviously they weren't the right ones to be with. Oh.
You are who you preach yourself to be.
Exactly.
And I'm the first person. If you click on my profile right now, you click on my profile. I have rules on the front, but I have something in the very back where it says real life.
Well,
I don't lie who I am. I'm not lying where I live, and there's several people that have my phone number that can FaceTime me at any given time. But I don't hide who I am personally, because by hiding, that makes me false to everybody. And if I say something, I want them to respect what I'm saying, because I'm saying it sitting behind a computer.
Yeah.
So don't fib to people that way, because what it does, first of all, if somebody thinks you're fibbing to them, well, then there's where it comes in. But I ain't going to tell you I'm completely innocent either. I'm not. And that's the part about it. I am a catfish in certain ways.
We all are. And that's how we began the show. There's a certain amount of catfishing that does happen. And it's not malicious. Like I said, I'm not a busty blonde. But, and I know some of you are very disappointed that I'm not a busty blonde, but I'm sure you're right. But yeah, when you cross over. You know, one thing is that cute avatar of the club and you hang out. But when you take it a step further and you're actually crossing that line into, even if it's just an SL relationship, maybe that's a good time to share a real picture or get on a Skype call. Like I said, just a suggestion, my 2 cents. I know some people can't. I know, given my career, there's certain things that I cannot disclose. You know,
There's
if I were
things you have to keep personal.
there are things that need to stay personal. If I were to give you my real name and you Googled me, I am all over Google, and it's not a bad thing. It wasn't like, you know,
Damn it.
sex. I know it wasn't. It's not a sex tape.
Damn it.
Damn it. But I am very easy to find because I do have a lot of online presence based on my career. So, just a word of caution. Jim, thank you so much for coming tonight and sharing your story. So much
Well,
we
thank
can
you very much for having me.
And so much
we could end up doing with a 2-hour show.
Oh, honey.
But remember, guys and girls, accept your person, your significant other in Second Life as who they are, not what they are, and don't try and change them. It's not about the looks. It's about the personality, the sense of humor, how they treat you, because if you get disrespected, lied to, cheated on, it does a lot to the other person's self-esteem, respect for themselves, and of course, it causes a person not to trust somebody else down the road.
Amen. And I don't say that very often. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. We will be back again next Saturday. I do start working on the topic and or guest speakers tomorrow. So if anybody has any suggestions, by all means, feel free to reach out to me and give me those. And I'll be more than happy to do the research for next weekend. In the meantime, you all stay safe, have fun, and always use a safe word.
Nightmares creep while you and me repeat. This bittersweet heat is suffocating. I'm waiting and always hesitating. Kryptonite desires set my heart afire.